Most gardeners have a graveyard of half-used fertilizers in their shed, tomato feed, pepper feed, blueberry feed, and have no idea if any of it is actually working. Stacy Murphy has been growing vegetables commercially in Brooklyn for over a decade, feeding a 6-member CSA every single week from a small urban plot. And she has not used a single specialist fertilizer in years. In the next 4 minutes, she is going to show you exactly what those labels are really telling you, why she stopped using all of them, and the one thing she feeds her soil instead that makes every crop thrive without exception. And if you have already spent money on these products, stick around, because what she shares at the end might completely change how you use what you already have. What you are about to watch is taken from one of Stacy's live Q&A sessions, where real growers just like you sent in their most pressing gardening questions, and Stacy answered them one by one. This question came from Jennifer in Idaho, who had a shed full of specialist organic fertilizers and was not sure whether to use them or throw them out. Here is exactly what Stacy told her.
For this question, she says, I have a collection of organic fertilizers in my shed. Hold on, I want to make sure I timestamp this. Doing double tasking here. So I have these organic fertilizers in my shed that are specialized for herbs, tomatoes, root vegetables, blueberry, all-purpose. You said that you primarily use compost, some kind of fish fertilizer, and worm poo, and that other fertilizers are unnecessary. What should I do with them? Awesome question. So I am never one to waste good materials. I think that would be bad news. So if you take a look at your specialized organic fertilizers, what you're going to find, and I love that, I think she put fertilizer in quotes, which I liked. So these specialized fertilizers, typically what they're doing is they're saying, okay, for somebody who's growing just tomatoes, what are the things that tomatoes love? And they're adding those particular fertilizers versus looking at a garden bed and saying, we want to keep the whole garden bed in balance so that any vegetable or herb is going to thrive. So I kind of take the second approach where I don't want to send my soil too far off in any particular direction because I want to be able to grow anything in that bed. So that's why I don't use these specialized fertilizers, but it doesn't mean that they're bad. And if you take a look at this tomato tone, which is an organic specialized fertilizer, what you'll see here is that all the ingredients, yes, are organic, and they are also all things that you recognize. So this was made from feather meal, poultry manure, bone meal, alfalfa meal, green sand, humate, sulfate of potash, and gypsum. These are all organic materials that were put here to provide this different nutrient spectrum. And the other thing to notice here is that the 3, 4, 6 is the NPK values, and it's fairly balanced. It's not like 0, 10, 0. So you're not sending your soil in any particular direction heavily. You're kind of giving it a slow release. All these ingredients are slow release, and they're also fairly well balanced. So these are not bad products by any means. I just like to take a more holistic approach and just give anything in the garden what it needs, regardless of what type of plant it is. So if you want to use these because you spent money on them, I have no issue with that. I think probably that's something that would be a good thing because I would hate to waste things if they were, if you spent money on these things. And then the other question is, what's your experience with these products? So if you've used these products in the past and you had great success, then by all means, do it again, you know? And then you could also kind of run an experiment and say, all right, well, what happens if I give my soil an overall conditioning with, 2 inches of compost and the basic nutrients it needs, some worm poop, and how well do those tomatoes do versus these ones that have this special feeding? And if you find that the special feeding is valuable, then maybe it's something to continue doing. I'm all about experimentation. I don't think that there is a right way to do everything. I think there's always the spectrum ways of doing things. And the reason that I give the advice I do is that for beginners, it gives them the biggest probability of success. If they feed the soil holistically, any vegetable or herb is going to thrive. It doesn't matter which one it is. So that's why I give the advice I give. But I also recognize that these products are not a bad thing, especially this type, which seems fairly balanced. All right.
So if you have a shelf full of specialist fertilizers, do not throw them out. Look at the NPK numbers. If they are balanced, use them and run your own experiment. But if you are starting fresh, save your money and feed the soil instead of the plant. That one shift is what changes everything. If this helped you, Stacy answers questions like this every week. Hit subscribe so you never miss one.